Bala Ch, Chapter 2. So we have seen Sage Narada give the recital of the complete summary of Lord Rama's story. Sage Narada goes back to his world, and by then it was noonday. It was time for Sage Valmiki to conduct his midday prayers, and he and his disciple Sage Bharadvaja go to river Tamasa. While Sage Valmiki was looking on, a very cruel Nishada kills the male Krauncha bird while its female was looking on. The male bird dies in its own pool of blood, and the female gives this huge shriek of despair at the sight of her dead husband. This event inspires Sage Valmiki to actually compose the entire Valmiki Ramayana. So the death of the Krauncha bird was not in vain. And there is a huge significance to this poignant scene. When the male bird dies, the female is in agony over the separation from its beloved mate. This is very indicative of how Rama and Sita lamented for each other's company after Mother Sita was kidnapped. Few translations say that this is how Tara and Mandodari lamented when Lord Rama killed their beloved husbands Vali and Ravana. So in that situation, in that analogy, Rama would be the cruel Nishada. But Rama is never cruel, as we have already discussed that in the first chapter. Therefore, this particular analogy doesn't seem right, because Rama is never cruel, and it is basically twisting the fundamental principle of who Lord Rama is. They have also said that Bharyatu is the wife of Ravana or Mandodari. Tamra Shirsena, which is the person who is with the red crest crown or the crown that is decorated with red jewels, that is Ravana. Patrina means the one who has winged vehicles like Pushpaka aircraft, that is once again Ravana. Mattena means the one who is intoxicated with Brahma's boons. Sahitena means the one who is surrounded by Indrajit, Vibhishna, Kumbhakarna, etc. Tena Dvijena means the one who is from a Brahmana family, that is Ravana. Viyukta means separated. Nihitam means slain, that is Rama is slain by Rama. Mahitale means on the ground or the surface. Cheshtamanam means reeling. Shonita Parita Angam, that means the blood has covered the limbs, that is Ravana. Drishtva, that means Mandodari has seen. Karunam Giram, that means with piteous lamentations. Ru Rava, that means Mandodari lamented. Once again, these analogies seem wonderful, but this would mean that Rama is the cruel Nishada who separated the loving couple Ravana and Mandodari. And first of all, Ravana did love Mandodari, but it was purely based on lust, and he had thousands of wives, and it was not as if he was completely engrossed only in Mandodari. And even if we were to set that aside, once again we have to come back to the original point that Rama is never cruel. Rama does what he does because he's protecting the righteous, he's annihilating the miscreants, and he's establishing dharma. So Rama is never cruel in that process. He's always kind. Why? Because he is Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. Bhagavad Gita 5.29 says that he is Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the best benefactor of all living entities. So this analogy has made one gross error in that it does not account for the mercy of the Lord. So now let us return to what this actually signifies. We will learn in Ayodhya Kand that when Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana went to the forest, they encamped on the banks of river Tamasa, the very same river that sage Valmiki and sage Bharadvaja are at this particular moment. Many years prior to this very incident, Lord Rama, Mother Sita, and Lakshmana had encamped on the banks of river Tamsa. But they were not alone. The entire Ayodhyavasis had followed Lord Rama and they were begging him to return to Ayodhya. They couldn't bear to be separated from him. Then Rama pauses for the day. The next morning, he, Sita, Lakshmana climb on the chariot as driven by Sumatra, and they leave the Ayodhyavasis sleeping on the banks of river Tamsa and go off deeper into the forest. Rama says that the reason why he is abandoning his faithful devotees is because he did not want them to suffer along with him in the forest. So he was taking care of their best interests. As well as Rama has his own reasons as to who has to serve him at what time. And in the forest, Mother Sita and Lakshmana and Guha and the Vanaras and the sages of Dandakaranya, all of them take a shot at serving Lord Rama. And we will discuss this particular concept in greater detail once we reach Ayodhya-kand and Aranya-kand and so on and so forth. But it suffices to say that Rama left the Ayodhyavasis sleeping on the banks of river Tamsa, and he and Mother Sita and Lakshmana depart into the forest with their charioteer Sumatra. The next morning, the people of Ayodhya wake up to see the disappearance of Lord Rama. And Valmiki gives some extremely poignant descriptions as to how those people behaved at that time. Their faces were distorted with sadness and grief at the separation from Lord Rama. So on the banks of river Tamsa, the people of Ayodhya behaved like the female crauncha bird. And Rama's disappearance into the forest was equivalent to the death of the male crauncha bird. The piteous lamentations that the female crauncha bird utters at this point is very similar to the grief and pain and agony, sheer agony that the Ayodhyavasis went through when they were separated from Lord Rama. When we read Ayodhya-kand from the very beginning, and we actually reach this particular point when we see Lord Rama, Sita and Lakshmana go off to the forest from the banks of river Tamsa, and we also see the reaction of the Ayodhyavasis, this particular statement will prove to be very true. We need to raise a consciousness to that level so that we can understand this particular sentiment. So we will go through this analogy in far greater detail in Ayodhya-kand, but it is important for us to touch that event over here because the reaction of the Ayodhyavasis, the extreme reaction of the Ayodhyavasis, shows us the level of affection a devotee has for the beloved Lord. It is as if they are oblivious to the surroundings and they are so engrossed in serving the Lord at all times. They are so engrossed in loving the Lord, and suddenly when the Lord disappears to do his own pastimes, the devotees are broken-hearted. But then once they come back in the vicinity of Lord Rama, they're once again very happy. The devotees always are happy when they get an opportunity to serve the Lord. That particular sentiment is highlighted in such great detail in Ayodhya-kand. But we need to know the extreme love that the devotees have for the Lord so that we understand the reaction of sage Valmiki when he saw a nishada or a hunter kill the male crauncha bird. Verse 13. तथा विधिं द्विजं दृष्ट्वा निषादेन निपातितं ऋषिधर्मात्मानः तस्य कारुण्यं समपद्यत. Then having seen the bird struck down by the fowler, the pious sage Valmiki was filled with compassion. Verse 14. ततः करुणा विदित्वात् अधर्मो अयम् इति द्विजा निशाम्य रुदतीं क्रौञ्चीं idam vachanam abravit. Valmiki was filled with indescribable pity towards the poor hen who was now hopelessly disconsolate. In the previous verse, Valmiki calls himself as Dharmatmana, the one who is very kind, the one who is very compassionate, the one who knows Dharma. And in this verse, he says that the action of the nishada or the fowler or the hunter was adharmo. It was not according to dharma. There was no kindness to it. There was no justice to it. Why did the nishada have to kill the male crauncha bird while it was in love with its wife? Why did he have to do it? So there was no justice to it. It was a very cruel-hearted deed. Therefore, Valmiki calls that deed as adharma. So we should always remember that sage Valmiki does not go ahead and praise himself. He never does that. He is a true Vaishnava, and one of the qualities of the Vaishnava is humility. So he will never praise himself unless and until it is absolutely essential to progress the story of Lord Rama. That's the reason why he's doing this, because he sees that it was a very unjust deal. And so he utters the following words. Mahanishada pratishthan tvam agama shashvata sama yat krauncha maitunadekam avadhi kama mohitam. O hapless wretch, mayst thou for long years to come never find a spot in this wide world to rest thy weary head. Didst thou not slay a lovely and harmless crauncha bird that was blind with love and in the very arms of its beloved mate? So the sight of the poor victim, that is the male crauncha bird, right before his eyes, roused the self-contained sage to ungovernable wrath, and thus from his unconscious lips shot forth a mighty curse. We have already seen that sage Valmiki is a Niyatendriya, the one who has controlled his senses, and yet he utters such words. Why? Because these words are going to be the standard meter for the entire Valmiki Ramayana. So, even when he is displaying his anger against the nishada, we are seeing that sage Valmiki is indirectly serving Lord Rama, or he is going to utilize these very words in the service of Lord Rama under the command of Lord Brahma, as we will see in the subsequent verses of the same chapter. So this is a very important understanding. We will know what inspired the sage to utter these words. We will learn how does he use these words in the service of Lord Rama. And what should we understand? We are not supremely great poets as sage Valmiki, so what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to utilize our talents in the service of the Lord. If we are capable of writing or composing poetry the way Sage Valmiki is, we need to utilize that in the service of Lord Rama and spread his glories and ensure that people can go back to Godhead. Obviously, this particular verse has a lot of other meanings to it, and we will go through all of them in the next section.